So the first question is, we have to write down the electron dot structure for sodium, oxygen and magnesium. And to write down this electron dot structure, we should have to know about the atomic number of these three elements. And for sodium, the atomic number is 11, as we well know. For oxygen, the atomic number is 8, and for magnesium, the atomic number is 12. So we will write these three elements one by one, and we will also write its electron dot structure. So first of all, we will take sodium. The symbol for sodium is Na. The symbol for oxygen is O, and symbol for magnesium is Mg. And if we talk about their atomic number, atomic number, then sodium atomic number is 11, oxygen atomic number is 8, and magnesium atomic number is 12. These are the atomic number according to the periodical table. So if we if we will write the electron in the different shell for sodium, oxygen and magnesium, then it will be something like that, like K shell, L shell, M shell and N shell. We have in the 4 cells, and in K cell we can have the 2 electron maximum. In L shell we can have the 8 electron maximum, and in M shell for sodium it will be only have 1 electron, because we will sum, if we will sum the number of the electron the different shell for sodium, then it will be equivalent to its atomic number. So 8 2 plus 1 it will be equivalent to 11. If we will write this, the same for oxygen, then it will be like 2 and 6 only. In L shell for oxygen there will be 6 electron only, and we will write down the same for magnesium, then it will be 2 8 and 2. In M shell there will be 2 electrons. Rest of the shell will be unfilled, because there is no more electron in sodium, oxygen and magnesium to be have in N cell or somewhere in M cell. So as we can see from this cell structure of sodium, oxygen and magnesium, in sodium there is a 1 electron which it can be share, or it can be take 7 electrons to be get stable or to be get octet position. But it is very difficult to take 7 electrons from a different element to make a compound, rather than it is very easy to give a 1 electron. So that's why sodium electron dot structure will be like Na dot. This dot is representing it can share 1 electron. On the another hand, the oxygen can share 6 electron. So electron dot structure for oxygen will be like that. For oxygen, it will be easy to take 2 electrons rather than to share to give 6 electrons. So it is having 6 electron in valence cell, so that's why the dot structure is like that. Otherwise, it will be take 2 electrons rather than giving 6 electrons. For magnesium, it will be like Mg, 2 dots here. You can write here. So it can give its 2 electron or can take 6 electron to be get stable, but it is more easy to give 2 electrons rather than to take 6 electrons. So that's why the electron structure is like that. So these three is the electron dot structure for sodium, oxygen and magnesium, and this is the answer for first question. Next is, show the formation of sodium oxide and magnesium oxide by transfer of electron. As we well know that atomic number for oxygen is 6 and sodium is 11. So how they will form Na2 and MgO. So the reaction is for sodium and oxygen, and magnesium is oxygen. So if we first of all take sodium example, then we can see here the sodium is having 2 atoms here, because the 2 is written there in the foot of sodium. So there is a 2 atom for sodium and 1 atom for oxygen. First of all, we have to be clear this one thing, that sodium is having 2 atom and oxygen having 1 atom. So for sodium, the electron it can give, it is only 1, but 2 atoms are there, so that's why the combination of Na2 can give 2 electrons in total, because a single sodium atom can give 1 electron, but the 2 sodium atom can give 2 electrons. A single sodium atom can give 1 electron, but the 2 sodium atom can give 2 electrons. So that's why the combination of sodium 2 atoms will give 2 maximum electrons to oxygen, so that the oxygen can have stable position. On the other hand, we also know that the oxygen need 2 electrons to be get stable. So oxygen will be take these 2 electrons from sodium to be get stable, because its configuration is 2 8 2 6. So it need 2 electrons to be get stable. So it will be take these 2 electrons from the 2 different atoms of sodium. Either the element is same but the atoms are different. There are 2 sodium atoms. So 1 electron from this side, this sodium, and 1 electron from this sodium will be shared with the oxygen, and oxygen will be get stable and form Na2O. Because sodium is giving the electron, so that's why it will be achieve the positive ion configuration, and oxygen will be have negative ion configuration. Sodium will be cation and oxygen will be anion. Same way for magnesium. Magnesium is having 2A2 electron configuration. This is the electron configuration for magnesium, 2A2. So magnesium either have to give its 2 electron, either had to take 6 electrons. So I told you before that it is very easy to give 2 electrons rather than to take 6 electrons. So that's why magnesium will prefer to give its 2 electron and become positive. So that's why it will be give its 2 electron to oxygen, so that the oxygen will be get stable and they both will be form MgU. Because magnesium give its 2 valence electrons, these 2 electrons to oxygen, where oxygen is having only 2 6 configuration and it need 2 electrons as we discussed before. So it take its 2 electron from magnesium and get stable. So the bond will be MgO. So this will be the compound MgO, magnesium oxide, where magnesium will be have positive charge and oxygen will be have a negative charge. So magnesium will be cation and oxygen will be anion. So in this way they will form a bonds. So the same thing is also written there. As you can see, sodium is giving its 2 electrons. The 2 atoms of sodium are giving it their 1 electrons to oxygen, so that the oxygen will be get stable and the bond will be made between the sodium and oxygen, and it will be Na2O. For magnesium, magnesium will be shares 2 valence electrons with oxygen and the bond will be MgO, where the sodium and magnesium both will be positive and oxygen will be negative. The next is, why do ionic compound have high melting point? Because as we discussed, already discussed in the previous example or in the previous question, that the electron sharing pairing is happened in between the compounds that are also called ionic compounds. Because they are the ionic compound, they having the ion, they having the charge on them. Like either one of the element will be positive and it will be share the electron, or another element will be negative and it will be take the electrons. So they form ions. Either the one element will be cation, other element will be anion. So that's why the bond in between them is the ionic bond, because they are sharing their charge, they are sharing their electrons. So that's why they are form ionic compound. And because of positive and negative charge formed on them, there is a bonding like that is required high melting point, because the energy required to break that bond is very much high. The energy required to break that bond is required very much high. So that's why it is the ionic compound is having high melting point, and the same is written here also. Ionic compound having high melting and boiling point, because the ionic compound are formed by attraction of 2 opposite ions. Because one ion will be cation, another ion will be anion. Cation will be positive, anion will be negative. So there is a positive negative attraction. There is a ion attraction. 2 opposite ions are attracting each other. So that's why we required huge amount of energy to break that bond. So that's why the melting point for ionic compounds are very much high. Another is to name the 2 metals which are found in nature in free state. We all know that the 2 metals which are found in free state are those metals which are very less reactive, and very less reactive metals are gold, silver and platinum. They are found in free state in nature because they are coming in the least reactivity series of metals. Next one is What chemical process is used for obtaining a metal from its oxide? Very important thing. As we all know that the metals are classified into the three categories. One is a highly reactive metals, another is a middle reactive metals, and the third one is a least reactive metals. Least reactive metals are found in free state in nature, but highly reactive metals and middle reactive metals are found in not found in free state in the nature. They are formed in with their oxides. They are formed with their carbonate or sulfides. So they are not free in the nature. So mostly the metals are formed in their oxide form. So that's why we need to extract the metal from its oxides. So that's why we need a reducing agent, as we discussed in the chapter also. This reducing agent will be help to break the bond of metal with their oxide, and we can extract the metal in pure form. Like for example, the zinc oxide is given there. As we know that zinc oxide is a metal, and zinc is a metal. It is coming in the middle series of reactivity. Zinc oxide, when we formed in nature, then we will use carbon as a reducing agent, because carbon when react with the zinc oxide, it form a bond. The carbon form a bond with oxide and oxygen and form carbon monoxide gas, and the rest one is a zinc only, which is in solid. So when carbon reacts with zinc oxide, it forms zinc and carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a gas, and zinc is a pure zinc that we can have from this. So this is the way how we can extract the metal from their oxides.